Welcome to The Real Dope. It is 11 a.m. Eastern, Thursday morning, one of my favorite times of the week. And I'm hanging out here with my sister, Beth Brand. And remember, this is a show for you, the enabler. It's not for the addict. It's one of those rare places where you get to come, listen, talk, engage, and discuss what it means to love, support, and quite frankly, have to deal with an addict. And Beth, we got a great topic today. What's on board?
It is trust and respect, and it's your topic. So I'm going to tell you to define it for us.
All right, great. Let's get the show started and we'll jump in.
Welcome to The Real Dope, a podcast for anyone walking alongside someone battling addiction, based on the powerful book, The Real Dope on Dealing with an Addict, by sisters Elizabeth Brand and Meridith Elliott Powell. Each episode will explore practical strategies, share authentic stories, and provide the honest guidance. Let's begin today's journey and turn survival into strength.
I really do love that, turn survival into strength. That is really what happens. Okay, before we jump into the topic, I need to remind you, we are not therapists, we are not doctors, we're not even technical experts in the field of addiction. What we are is people who are just like you, who have lived, loved, and quite frankly, had to deal day in and day out with addicts. So today we're talking about trust and we're talking about respect. And for me, the reason that I wanted to cover the topic was I think that you would probably frame it in the sense of thinking about trust as it relates to addiction, thinking about respect, two things that get heavily eroded when you love an addict. So I want to talk a little bit about that. But what I really thought was, in my reflection, it was how much trust I lost with myself and how much respect I lost for myself in the situation. And I think one of the most interesting things about loving, supporting, and dealing with addicts is how many of you, their traits that you despise, that you end up taking on. And I think that's probably one of the hardest realizations that I came to with loving an addict, was a lot of things that I didn't love about the addicts in my life were traits that I eventually took on. So let's start there.
Yeah, like lying.
So what do you think? How would you
I think
define
that's true, but I think that the not trusting starts like in our childhood.
Yeah, I think you start that out. Yeah, I think you start that out innocently, right? I mean, I remember mother covering for daddy. That's where she started lying.
Yeah, people are telling you things
and then
that you know aren't true.
From there.
They're telling you things you know aren't true. Like, daddy's drunk. No, he's not. Or why do we pack beer in the morning? Like it's normal, like to go on a road trip, packing a thing of beer. They just keep lying to you. And so so you start to think, and these are the people that you're dependent on for your security. So you just believe them and you don't believe in yourself. Right?
I think that is probably, yeah, I can hear you. I think one of the biggest, I think it starts there, right? Like, I think when you grow up in a home of an addict, as parents think they are loving us and they are protecting us by not validating what we know we are seeing. Children are so smart. They know something is wrong. And so I remember when daddy wrecked the car and mother said somebody hit him. I knew daddy had wrecked the car. I knew he had wrecked the car, but she told me that somebody had hit him. And I'm not sure I believed her, but I doubted myself. And that's where that first piece belongs. And the negative of that is that I believe when I was dating Doug, I knew something was wrong, but because mother kept validating that it wasn't, I moved forward anyway. So I had no trust in my own inner voice or my own instincts at all.
And I think that's what the biggest thing about trying to heal yourself, what you get back. I mean, I never had it. The first time I even felt like I trusted myself was actually with my baby. because I believed in me more than I believed in the world. With him, I was so protective. And through that, I learned to trust myself again. Through being a mother, I learned to trust my instincts again. But when I got onto the dating scene, I mean, mother never validated anything that I did or thought or whatever, but I was always wrong. So I never had any sense of myself. And I don't know if that's like a normal thing for 18, 19, 20-year-olds to have. I have no idea, but I had no trust in my own decision-making capabilities. So of course I didn't do that great on the marriage market.
Yeah, but it is really interesting that we came about it very differently in the sense that mother never validated anybody that you ever went out with. She validated everybody that I went out with, regardless of how horrible they are. Yet we still made bad choices, and her response to that was we didn't have enough trust in our own gut to follow what we wanted or knew was right.
The other part of that is your respect part. I didn't have enough self-respect to know I deserve to be treated better.
When do you think you consciously, though, started to lose respect? I was really trying to think about this the other day. I was actually talking from the stage about growing up in an alcoholic home. And I was saying that I grew up with everything that goes with the dysfunction, the anger, everything that's in there. But I think somewhere I just didn't think I deserved any other life than the life I had been given. And I don't even mean that as negative as it sounds, but I just felt like, given the dysfunction, there were things that were off limits to me. And I think
I feel like I even dated down, or I never believed when somebody great even liked me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I imploded relationships, with not just dating relationships, but relationships with that where I can remember being in high school and we were going to take the SAT. And of course, I have these little competing things. On one shoulder, I think like I'm the smartest person in the world. And the other shoulder thinks I'm, nothing but a piece of dirt under somebody's shoe. But I can remember arguing with the counselor lady, what if I'm average? What if I'm just average? Isn't average enough? Why can't average be enough? Why do I have to be super smart or great? And I was in prep school, so they sort of expected you to be, go on to some great school or whatever. But I was always downplaying it so that I wouldn't have to rise to the top and lose. And so I always was downplaying, even when it came to being a bridesmaid, I always told people it was okay not to choose me because I'd rather cut off the hurt before it happened.
Yeah.
And I had friends who were like, well, we really, I know you don't want to be in our wedding, but we'd really love you to be, that kind of thing. Back before it would cost $10,000 to be in someone's wedding.
So do you think that became a learned behavior, or do you think you started out that way?
I think a lot of it was a learned behavior. I think a lot of it was the positioning in the family, being the third child when you had three so close. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there was a ton of time for me. And so I think I was always put on the back burner. And then on top of that, I kind of had I have a rebellious streak in me. And I just don't think mother thought that was very ladylike. And she was trying to tap that down in me. So anything I thought, anytime I had an opinion, she would slam it back down. We make our mother sound terrible. She was not. She was lovely.
Yeah, and she was wonderful. Yeah. I mean, we never would have made it through. And then the irony of all the days.
And a lot of that strength and that ability to walk through the world no matter what comes from her.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we are recording this on her birthday.
That's right. She would have been 97. She would not have liked that.
She would not have been happy because she wouldn't have looked good in clothes at 97. No. So what's the point, right? But I think that let's flip that around. Let's talk about the journey of how do you start to learn. So there you are. I mean, first of all, I think one of the most important things to know about addicts is they lie. Oh my God, they lie. They flipping lie about everything. And I think that's hard for you to come to terms because you'll look them straight in the eye and say, on our children's lives, do you swear you're not drinking? If you love me, you will tell me the truth. And in your mind, you would never swear on your children's lives and then lie. You would never do that. And so you're using like your morals to look an addict. And so I think we underestimate just how much an addict will lie.
And this is where you need to separate the person you love from the addiction they're suffering with. Because when they are saying they will swear on their children's lives, that's the addiction talking to you. That is not the person. The person is not there anymore. Because you're like, well, my dad would never do that. Right. Well, no, your dad would never do that, but his addiction would.
His addiction definitely.
And so that's where you really, really need to, if you can separate that out clearly, it's easier to understand. But we didn't have that understanding. So we thought, we believed.
Yeah.
We believed, we trusted. And then when that trust was broken so many times, then we didn't trust anybody or anything.
Yeah, it's just part of the disease. Like, it's not a moral failure. And I think that's the other thing too. I think for us as enablers, we're not lying to lie. We're lying to protect, and we're lying to create some vision or illusion of normalcy.
And so is the person with the addiction. They are lying just to make it to their next high. And that's where they see as normalcy and like just keeping their world alive.
Yeah.
And so we are actually we are lying as well. But it's up to us to stop lying.
Yeah, it feels like not lying is a betrayal. Like, if I tell you that Doug and I can't come to dinner because he's drunk off his butt, it feels like I'm undermining him and not supporting
and embarrassing yourself,
and it's embarrassing,
and putting a load on your hostess.
Right. Yeah. And so it's and so I think it's important to understand those things, but I think that I think you start with lying, and then I think that lying, I'm trying to think, like, when is the first time I really realized I had no respect for myself? Like, because I don't think respect was, I don't believe that from the time I was probably 12 years old, I don't think I believed I deserved what other people deserved. I mean, I just thought that my life would, the very fact that I didn't know I was riddled in alcoholics at that time, but the very fact that things were not right in our house prevented me from getting the things that I want. And I think that is such an important lesson. I'm just going to tell a quick story. A few years ago, I was speaking, the Rotary Club had asked me to come speak to their Rotaract. And they had a group of kids there that were all in Rotaract, all in high school and junior high. And most had come from, the proverbial wrong side of the tracks. And they, right before I spoke, they were walking through an exercise of, if your parents are divorced, stand up. If anybody in your family's ever been to jail, stand up. If you've had an active addict in your life, if you've been a victim of violence, until eventually they go through all these horrible things and everybody in the room stands up. And I was all set to talk about something else. But when I saw these kids all stand up with all this, everything that they had just admitted, I completely changed what I was going to speak about. And I got up and I said, when I was your age, like, basically everything they said, I had to check in every single box, every single box. Somebody in my family had died. Somebody's been in jail. I've been a victim of, some level of violence.
Multiple checks.
Yeah. And I changed the entire presentation to the fact that when I was their age, I thought that limited me. And what I didn't understand, and what I understand at this age, is that's what made me strong. That's what made me what I am today. And so I think that I started out believing I didn't deserve, but I'm trying to figure out when I lost respect for myself.
It makes you, I feel like this whole journey has made me more compassionate and wise. I don't think in black and white anymore. Everything is gray. Yeah. Especially when it comes to people. Yeah. It's very messy. I think I still deal with feelings of worth. I still have trouble like buying Kleenex. I mean, Peter buys it because I think that's what fancy people have. Almost as if I don't deserve it, or turning on the heat, or even though I can afford it, I still just, put myself last.
Yeah. See, I think that all really, I don't know that I ever did that. I think I've always been far more self-centered than you have been. But I think a lot of that changed for me when that therapist made me spend money on myself.
Yeah, I think that is like the greatest thing I ever heard. That is really good. And I think it's such a wake-up call, like, for the enabler. Do you want to just repeat that in case somebody didn't hear? Because it's so good.
I had gone to the therapist. I was doing really well with therapy and trying to draw the boundary with my first husband. And I said I do incredibly well until he's down and out and he calls me for money. And she gave me 2 pieces of advice. Number one, she told me not to answer the phone, which was brilliant. I never ever thought of not answering the phone, which just tells you how far in a cave you are, right?
Exactly.
I mean, so ridiculous. The second is that she told me that the next time, just one time, she said if he called me and asked me for money, whatever amount he called and asked me for, just one time I needed to spend that money on myself instead of giving it to him. And he called me, asked me for $1,000. And this would have been like late 90s, right? That's a lot of money. Not that it's not a lot of money right now, but it was a lot of money in 1998, 1999. And I went out and I spent $1,000 on myself and I've never looked back. Not to say that I didn't give him money again or anything like that, but it made me realize. The other thing is that I realized from that is that, and this is where I rationalize why I put myself first right now. And if you don't agree, don't tell me because it's working for me. But I don't have the capacity to be kind and to be giving in my own household if I feel completely tapped out. And so, you know, if I'm going to have dinner with Rob, if I'm going to be kind to him, if I'm going to pay attention to him and be present, I have to do some things that are focused on me because I just don't have the mental capacity or the energy to do it.
So I think that speaks to like where trust and trusting the world again has to come from. It has to come from you.
Yes.
The trust you need to re-earn has to be trust in yourself.
Yeah.
Trust and respect for yourself. That's where it's going to come from. And then you can broaden it out into the world. But not, it has to start, you have to rebuild the trust in yourself and your own gut, and then respect for yourself, and then work out from there.
Yeah, because what I think and what I want to mention with that is I think I probably started to gain trust and some respect back when I started listening to my own gut and I didn't care if the people around me didn't agree.
So that's like a huge thing is, you start to really believe in yourself. And some of the testing in that is going to come with the person who's suffering with addiction, because they're going to ask you to trust them again. And they're going to push. And when you don't, they're going to push back on you like it's their fault. You're hurting their recovery. They're sober. What's your problem? They've been to rehab. And here you are trying to undermine them by not trusting them. And the thing is, you need to listen to yourself there really strongly. And don't fool yourself. You're allowed not to ever trust them again. Ever. No matter, I don't care if they become king of the world. Fund a charity and do great things and take drug tests every single day. If you don't trust them, because it's deeper than just the addiction at this point. It's that they have betrayed you and lied to you. The addiction has, even if the person hasn't. You don't ever have to, it's up, you get to decide who you trust and who you don't.
Yeah, and I think, and you get to decide, like, if you think they're drinking or actively using, I think it's so important to go and get a quiet space, to go for a hike or do something like that and see what you think and see what you feel. Because if you believe that they're actively using, it doesn't matter what they say. You're uncomfortable in that situation and you need to listen to that gut and you need to trust yourself.
It doesn't even matter if they're not actively using. If you feel uncomfortable and you think they might be, if you feel uncomfortable, if you don't want to deal with it, you don't have to deal with it.
Right.
You can just say, no, I'm not there yet. I'm not to the place where I think you're sober. And so, no, I'm not getting in a car with you, or no, I'm not giving you $10, or no, I'm not, I don't want to. Mm-hmm. And you get to decide when you trust again. They don't get to decide. And they don't get to like, well, here's like all my tests and prove it. It's up to you, again, in your own gut, in your own soul, trust in yourself, and then outward. Who you can trust and who you can't.
Yeah.
But also trust that you know.
Yeah. What do you think is a small step you can take to begin to rebuild trust again?
Well, I would think working with yourself, something you don't trust, like something you don't trust yourself about, and allow yourself to just trust yourself in the moment, like any kind of decision, like
Yeah.
that you feel like you want to run to ask some expert from up north about, and just trust yourself instead and see how it goes. Like, I mean, should I go to the movies this afternoon? I mean, I couldn't make a decision like that by the time
Yeah.
Edward's addiction was done with me. Should I do this? Should I do that? Let's say like somebody says, oh, you just need this. And you're like, do I really? And then, how many Christmas decorations to put up, like trust yourself without thinking, what would somebody else want? What does someone else need? What should this be?
Yeah.
What do I want? What do I need? What do
Yeah.
I think looks good? And trust in your vision for what you think looks good. What do you think?
I think a small step is to, number one, and we've discussed it a lot on here, but I think is just starting to set boundaries. Like even just a small boundary is a good place to start. I also think a good place to start to rebuild trust again is if I'm having a conversation with an addict and I'm getting confused, is to walk away, just stop the conversation. And then when you can get a moment to yourself, just like reflect on the conversation and separate fact from emotion. What is truly a fact and what is really an emotion? And I think you can start to gain trust there. But I think so much of lack of trust comes from the fact that we're dealing in emotion. I mean, like you think about a fight and you say, Beth, I think you're drinking again. And you go, I'm not drinking again. Why do you always accuse me of this? Any problem I've ever had with drinking is because you undermine everything I do. And in the middle of that conversation, I get confused. Right. And then I start to doubt myself and I start to think, well, maybe I do accuse her all the time. And maybe I never did trust her. Maybe she wouldn't be in this situation if I didn't.
Maybe I'm just paranoid. Maybe that's just my personality. Maybe that's just I'm always too anxious. What do I know?
Yeah. Yeah. I also think another way to begin to trust yourself again is to stop apologizing. I've said here a million times, I am truly damaged from alcohol. I'm very uncomfortable if people drink too much, incredibly uncomfortable. I've even had a physical response to it. And I'm just not apologizing for that anymore. I have been through a lot. It's a trauma response. I don't know if I'll cure it before I get out of this life. I seriously doubt it. I'm over the age of 60, probably not going to happen. But I'm not like, okay, that is who I am. You have to deal with that type of a thing. Or you don't, right? But it's like I'm over feeling badly about that.
Yeah, definitely. And I have that too. Like I am very controlling, extremely controlling. And most of the time I'm not. And I recognize when the enabling is coming back up. But I no longer apologize for that either. I'm in a bad way. This is what's happening with me. And I will have to drive the car because that's the only way I will go anywhere.
Right.
I have to be in charge.
Right. Yeah. You sort of have and I think, I think that's really fair because being enablers, you're incredibly giving in every other way in your life. Really, they're the best people to live with because they'll do absolutely everything.
And they'll always consider you.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
except we're pretty manipulative.
Yeah, that's true.
I am a manipulator. Yeah.
All right. What's your biggest takeaway from today?
I think that the fact that the trust has to start from within. It's not about trusting the other person. It's about learning to trust yourself and letting that be your core, and that the other trust can come from there. But it's not about trusting someone else. It's not about trusting someone with addiction. It's not about any of that. And also that you get to decide.
Yeah. I think my biggest takeaway from today, and something I want to practice more as I go into 2026. And I've been doing it some in my car. I've been doing it some when I go for a walk. I was in such a habit of listening to podcasts all the time. Even if I ran into Walmart, I'd be listening to a podcast, and spending more quiet time and really trying to listen, not to my mind, but to my gut. And I think that will build my confidence and build my trust and show me the path more than anything else I do. So,
Yeah. Chris Hayes wrote a really good book called Siren's Call about the attention economy.
Yeah.
And I think scientists about even if just 13 minutes a day in silence, like just walking, you don't have to even meditate, will change your outerness. But it is definitely, however you do it, is getting back in touch with your gut.
Yeah.
Because as enablers, we have lost that.
You've lost.
We were so busy putting fires out that are all around us and not turning within.
Yeah.
Isn't it the answer to everything?
And it happens so slowly, you lost sight of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Any thoughts on what you want to talk about next week?
You know what? I thought because it's the holidays that we should talk about dealing with judgment.
Oh, that's a great one.
People judging your choices, especially as you get healthier as an enabler and you start to come out of it. We face a lot of judgment as enablers. In the beginning, it's something that pushes our behavior. And then the end, when we're getting healthier, it's something we have to ward against. We have to just have a plan for and be conscious of.
Yeah,
how to deal with it.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. Judgment of yourself, judgment from others.
Yeah.
And
because that's the worst judge is yourself. That's the hardest one to get over. But you still are going to get a lot of judgment for others. And just we'll banner that about and talk about it and maybe find some ways that we dealt with it ourselves.
Good. I think that's a good one. All right. We'll see you all right back here next week for another episode of The Real Dope, the show that focuses on you, the person who loves, supports, and quite frankly, has to deal with addicts. We'll see you next week.